Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of The Game Plan. This is about the Atlanta Falcons versus the New Orleans Saints in Week 10. I'm very happy, very excited because I actually have a video intro, which you're seeing right now. So if you're new to the show, here's what I do. I quickly run through the key injuries. I run through the key statistics, the key gambler statistics. I'll explain those briefly when I get there. Then we pick a path to victory for both the Atlanta Falcons and the New Orleans Saints. And of course, at the end, we also give our daily fantasy and fantasy football analytics, our projections for each key player in this game as well. So you get some fantasy, you get some gambling. But if you're just a fan of the NFL, you get to see kind of how these two teams are going to match up with each other. Now, before I get rolling, as I do every week at this point, I say, please, for 2 seconds of your time, 2 clicks, a like, and a subscribe. We put a lot of work into these videos, but believe it or not, some features are actually locked for us in terms of making these videos more interactive, putting up links and all that stuff. That's all locked for us right now. So we need your help to get there. We need to be a YouTube partner to make these videos just a little bit better. We could, definitely use your support there. But let's just jump in, as I like to do, as always, with the injury report. Now, I got to say, the New Orleans Saints are one of the healthiest teams I've seen, which is ridiculous. And I guess they had their, they had their bit of unluck with Drew Brees at the beginning of the year, and then they went undefeated without him, which is crazy. But let's look at the Falcons. Obviously, you have Matt Ryan with that ankle sprain. That's going to be a hindrance to him. Even if he plays, he's not going to be 100%. Those high ankle sprains are brutal. Ito Smith is questionable. I think they need him for short yardage situations. You got 2 guards there. Their starting guards are both questionable, and then cornerback Desmond Trufant. They need all those people to play. The Saints here, they're basically their backup tight end is questionable at this point, and I think their third cornerback is questionable. That is a very clean sheet in terms of injuries. It's incredible that the Saints are there, but like I said, they've had Kamara out for multiple games. They've had Drew Brees out, and they've survived that. So that just shows you how strong this Saints team is, especially with their depth. Now, what I like to do here is I like to compare offenses versus defensive units. These numbers are in terms of total accumulation of yards throughout the full season. So you see Atlanta's passing attack is first. Why is it first? Is it because they're dominant, or is it because they've been behind in so many games and they've had to throw? It's probably a combination of the two. I do like the passing attack. I do think that they will be able to move the ball at times against this Saints team. Certainly they're going to try to attack the pass, and the Saints defense is 16th. Whereas the Falcons' pass defense is 23rd versus the 10th ranked Saints passing offense. The 10th ranked Saints passing offense without Drew Brees for like 6 games. It's crazy. So I do think the Saints are going to play better than a 10th ranking here. Now, run offense for the Falcons, not surprisingly, they haven't been in charge. They haven't really been trying to kill the clock in a lot of games. And Dirk Cutter doesn't run that often anyway, schematically. So 29th for the Falcons, 4th for the Saints. That's not a surprise. The Saints' run defense has been strong for a couple years now. Run defense for the Falcons, 21st. Again, not surprising since most teams are trying to run on them to kill the clock because they're always winning. The Saints' run offense is 15th. Again, I think they'll play a little bit better. Teams are really trying to gear up to stop the run, to have Teddy Bridgewater beat them with his arm. Obviously, nobody really succeeded in doing that, but I think the Saints' running and passing attack will be better in this game. They're actually getting better, which is kind of a scary thought when you think about where this Saints team is already this season. Now, let's talk about the gambler stats. If you're unfamiliar, basically, long story short, professional gamblers, they look at a lot of things, but these are the primary ones that they look at first and foremost. It's yards per play, 3rd and 4th down conversion, red zone touchdown percentage, and then turnover margin. And if you just compare these teams, the Falcons get 6 yards per play offensively, which is pretty decent, but the Saints give up only 5.4 yards per offensive play, which is pretty good there too. Defensively, the Saints give up 6 yards per play, not so good. The Saints only average 5.9 yards per play. For a one-loss team, I would expect this to be over 6 yards per play. But again, think about their starting quarterback and their starting running back have missed multiple games. It's just incredible what they've done, and the defense has stepped up there. I do think, once again, the Saints will outplay these kind of statistical projections. Now, offensive and defensive third down, you see the Falcons are converting 43%, whereas the Saints' offense is converting 45%. Pretty similar there. The key difference is the Saints' defense is about 20 percentage points higher, or better, I should say, at allowing conversions. So the lower percentage for defense is better. Basically, on third downs, the Saints get off the field. They give up 32% of the time the first down, so they get off the field about, 68% of the time. It's very, very good. Let's see, fourth down conversions. The Falcons are a little bit better in converting fourth downs than the Saints are, but to me, this is negligible. But if you look again, once again, the Falcons defense on fourth downs, they're giving up more than half the time a conversion on fourth downs. So, this Falcons team is reeling. They've had some injuries. They've just been a sieve all season long. It's going to be a tough matchup for them all day. Red zone percentage, the Falcons actually have a nice red zone touchdown conversion percentage at 62.5, actually better than the Saints. But again, the Saints have been dealing with backups, and they've been playing pretty well. But you look at that Falcons defense, they give up touchdowns 68.8, almost 69% of the time they give up touchdowns to the opposing offense. No bueno. And then you look at the turnover margin. Matt Ryan struggled with some interceptions, particularly the first 3 to 4 weeks of the season. They're averaging minus 1.4 in turnover margin, whereas the Saints are averaging 0.4. So what does this tell us? This tells us that the line, which opened up and I think is still at New Orleans minus 13, is an accurate one. New Orleans at this point is much more favored. So past the victory, how do the Atlanta Falcons attack and try to win this game? How do the Saints try to attack and win this game? And let's just take a look. Julio Jones has to win his battle against Lattimore. He has to be involved. I think he'll have a nice game, but it can't just be a bunch of fourth quarter prevent defense, garbage time yards. I mean, Julio has to be a factor in quarters 1 through 4. Assuming that the Falcons don't run the ball with success, and I don't think that they will. Bubble screen the hell out of New Orleans. I don't really know that the screen game to Freeman is going to be working. So I think it's going to be a lot of Ridley, Gage, Hardy, and then Hooper, just to try to move the chains and keep this offense moving and on the field. Turnover margin, it's been a killer. Matt Ryan has to have a clean stat sheet. And by the way, if Matt Ryan doesn't play and Matt Schaub is in, I don't know how much. Look, Matt Ryan's really good when healthy, but when you're talking about a bad ankle for a quarterback, then you have your footwork gets messed up, your mobility, your ability to slide in the pocket gets messed up. I don't know which one is better for the Falcons to play, frankly, if Matt Ryan can't go. I tend to think coming off a bye week, he'll be back in there, and we'll see how healthy it is. Hopefully, for Atlanta's sake, he can play well. The Falcons are going to have to steal possessions. They're going to have to go for it on fourth down. If you're in the red zone and it's a 4th and 5, field goals are not going to win this game against the Saints, especially with the Atlanta Falcons defense. You have to go for it, and you have to have that nice conversion. I think it was 60-something% if memory serves on the last slide. You have to flip the field, and you have to get touchdowns in the red zone. So that means if the Saints stop you got to stay on the field. You got to convert touchdowns. You have to take risks if you're the Falcons. You're the underdog for a reason here. And then number 5 I have here, obviously, sarcastically, you just hope Drew Brees and Teddy Bridgewater sleep in. Miss their alarm clocks. It's going to be a tough day. I'm actually that 13-point advantage for the Saints. I'm actually taking the Saints in that game. I don't know if I'll actually bet it. As a gambler, I have a tough time laying that many points, especially in a division game. But man, I just don't see the path to success there. It might be a late cover, prevent defense. The Falcons can move the ball, but we'll see. Now, path to success for New Orleans. Drew Brees to Mike Thomas all day. I think that this is going to be a nice matchup. I think Thomas will score well, as we'll see in the fantasy football projections. Both running backs could have a nice day if they decided to play both. Now, I know Kamara was injured before their bye week. He's back. Are they going to, and Murray played so well, Latavius Murray. Are they going to do a little bit more of a share? I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But if they play both can have a good game. I do think Kamara is a great start this week regardless. Atlanta's going to have their hands full with Thomas. I do see opportunities for Ted Ginn and possibly Traquan Smith. These secondary receivers. I was looking at the play charts as I do. I chart every game, all the plays, all the game and everything. I think Ted Ginn could get behind this Atlanta secondary multiple times. You know how it goes, Saints fans. I mean, Ted Ginn, a couple of games a year, will have two touchdowns, 150 yards receiving. This is that type of game. That opportunity is going to be out there for him. Now, Mike Thomas obviously is going to be heavily involved. We'll see how the play calling goes, but this is one of those types of games where Ginn could really go off. So daily fantasy players out there, I think Ginn is a really nice risk for you as a budget play this particular week. And then avoid turnovers. We talked on the last slide about Matt Ryan and the Atlanta Falcons and that, I think it was negative 1.4 turnover margin. Atlanta has to win. They have to steal 2 possessions. just take care of the ball, New Orleans. I mean, you don't have to go for it on fourth down. Don't do anything stupid like going for, at the 50-yard line. Some games you have to really push the envelope there. The Saints don't. They can be a little conservative, punt the ball, play field position, and just count on their defense to get it done and their offense to get it done. I mean, they were one-loss team for a reason. They're very, very good. They're favorites for a reason. The Saints have a big advantage. And let's face it, in win-loss total, it doesn't matter if you cover that 13-point spread or not. I think the Saints easily win by a touchdown. I think they probably win by 2 touchdowns. But let's talk about fantasy football. For the Atlanta Falcons, I actually do like their projections. I don't love Devonta Freeman this week, but you see Matt Ryan, if he can go and he can play well, you have a nice projection on him. You have a nice projection on Julio Jones at 17.7. You have a nice projection on Calvin Ridley, 11.74, and Hooper. I think all of those are starts. And, I know Saints fans out there, our defense is great, yada, yada, yada. But we even saw against the Chicago Bears where they handled the Chicago Bears all game. And at the end of the game there, they kind of went to a little bend, don't break defense, which is typical of the NFL. So, the Saints could be up 21 points and then just kind of relax a little bit on defense. And then the Atlanta Falcons could score 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. That's very, very possible. And I would argue even likely. So I do like these players. I don't like them in the first half, but I like them more in the second half. And I do think Julio Jones, he's too good of a player to not win every now and then against Lattimore, as well as Lattimore is playing. So, yeah, I play the Atlanta Falcons passing offense this week, and I rotate them in my daily fantasy lineups. I just stay away from the running game there. For the Saints, I like Drew Brees this week. I love Kamara. I think he's my second-rated running back out of the whole NFL this week. Murray, you see he's got a lower projection. It would not shock me if he gets some kind of tougher carries and he's earned himself into more snaps with what he's done in relief of Kamara in recent weeks. Mike Thomas, I think, is great. We talked about Ted Ginn. Like I said, this isn't a great projection for Ginn. I think he's a borderline fringe start at flex this week, but he will have opportunities in this game. Whether or not the Saints hit the opportunities, we'll see, but he'll have 2 to 3 downfield targets, I bet, this week, so we'll see what happens there. I suspect he'll get at least one of them. Jared Cook, fringe start. Traquan Smith, I don't love him this week. Defense and special teams, I don't really like either team this week. So there you go. That takes me through a full week. If you want to get the full list, every team, every player of these projections, just tweet at me or send me an email. I'm happy to give those away for free. For that, I'm going to be doing a couple of other game previews. We have Seattle, San Francisco already out there. We have the Raiders versus the Chargers. I know that game has already been played, but that's out there as well. So if you want to see how I've done, generally I do pretty well in these because, again, I run fantasy football analytics, and I also chart the plays, and I also watch all the games. So there's a lot that goes into these things. But yeah, send me an email, completely free. Give me a follow on Twitter. I'm at TFS_Sean. And, I guess everybody out there, go out. Hopefully for your daily fantasy player, you get paid this week, and we'll catch you on another episode soon. Thanks, everyone.